Hello everyone, welcome back. So today I'm gonna discuss about something related to the Springboard. So Springboard essential tutorial, or we can say like essential code snippets for every developer should know. This is actually the basic thing. So whenever we are creating a basic Springboard application, we are using this at Spring Boot annotation. So that's the first thing. So if you are creating without any IDs or any online spring.io or somewhere, you need to add this manually. So, but this one is the important one. So let me. So here is the collection of must-know Spring Boot code snippets that cover fundamental features. So Spring Boot application annotation campaigns at configuration, enable auto configuration, and component scan. So probably we can go through each of these in later videos, but right now, to whenever we are creating a Spring Boot application, we should have this one. So at configuration, so here I guess I have some problem with this icon here. So it's fine. So configuration, enable auto configuration and component scan. So these things we will discuss on later videos. This is also important things. So we need to discuss in later videos or after completing all these things. So creating a REST controller. So most probably everyone aware of these things. So you need to create a controller class. Usually we will give a controller a name with a controller uh, suffix actually. So that's the usual way of doing that, and we will do at REST controller and request mapping. Instead of REST controller, you can use the controller also. So in coming videos we will discuss about that also. What exactly the difference between controller and controller, that's also important things. And this is only with a get mapping. You will have post mapping, and you have something to input into that endpoint. In that case you will use the request body and post mapping and request mapping. Yeah, yeah, we can mention that here also. And how to handle post request using post mapping and request body. So this will be the object that your objects that you will accept as a request body. So that's the one. Exception handling with controller advice. This is also an important thing. So Spring itself managing some of the exceptions. It will convert into runtime exception, I guess. So in some cases you need separate exceptions for different scenarios. In that case you need to know this thing at controller advice. And inside that one, exception handler, what kind of exception? So the controller, if controller throws resource not found exception, we will catch that here, and from here you are sending the error response, and the status code also you will set here. So this is a better mechanism comparing to the throwing everything as a runtime exception. So here we are receiving resource not found exception. So at controller advice exception handler, and uh, you need to retain an error response. This example shows how to handle exception globally in Spring Boot application, controller device, and exception handler. Connecting to a database with the Spring Data JPA. So you need to include JPA dependencies, in this case Spring Data dependencies, and also if there is uh, if you are using Oracle or if you are using a PostgreSQL or MongoDB, you should have some um, dependencies, driver classes, and other things that you add separately. So basic Spring Data will not cover that one. That's my understanding. So that also you need to take care of. But when it going to the code level, just a class, and you need to mention identity, and based on your table structure you can manage these things. At id generate a value, and you need to remember one thing here. These things are some of the things are dependent on the database that you are using. If you are using Oracle, maybe some difference will be there, but not that much major differences, but some small difference will be there. But id is always, it's like an id, so you don't need to worry about that things. And also the columns, you don't need to mention that, it will automatically taking it as a column. In this case name will be a column in the database table. So this only cover the entity part, table part, but you need a repository. So you need to define an interface, user repository, extends JPA repository. That's it. So if you are defining this one, the Spring Data JPA will take care of. It will create the tables, and whenever you are retrieving find or find by ID, or most of the methods will be there except your customized requirement. So customized requirement, you need to give customized methods. Basic CRUD operation. So that's they are saying it's only cover basic CRUD operation. The remaining you need to take care of. So CRUD operation with Spring Data JPA. So here we have a REST controller, and in that REST controller you have a user repository that's we defined here, and then get user, it's a get mapping. So get REST endpoint, and in that we are passing a path variable id. So then from the user repository find by id, and else throw new resource not found exception. So what's going to happen in this case? You are throwing a new resource not found exception. So in that case, the controller advice, it it will catch here, and it will not found exception, and it will take that get message also, and it is throw as an error response. That's actually happening here. And post mapping, create user request body, user return user repositories, put mapping. So request body is there, path variable is there. You are trying to find by id, and if it is there you are setting the value from the request to update that uh, user, and then you are saving. So post and put almost same, except you are updating here by finding one, or else you are throwing new resource not found exception. So delete mapping, that also is like this one. You are throwing a new resource found exception if you are not finding anything. Otherwise you are just deleting from the database. Spring Boot properties. So this also important. So just creating this one, and you need to mention some server ports, otherwise it's going to be 8080. If you need a specific port, you can do so using server port properties. So then database, this is must. If you are having some database connectivity, these things are necessary. These things are optional. This one is optional, this one is mandatory. And other than that, you can define using application.properties or application.yaml. Configuration using add value. And another thing, so if you are defining your custom properties here, to access that in the code, you can add value and to uh, provide that whatever, provide the that particular properties here, and you can access that value here. So Spring will take care of that injection of configuration from the configuration properties into the controller or wherever you are defining. So so that's add value annotation, customizing JSON response, JSON ignore. So if some cases, if you are sending an endpoint, the value is like user here, right? So whatever you are passing into that endpoint, you will get a user object return back. So in that case, if you don't need the password to be passed into the outside, can put as JSON ignore. That case, it will not send that value into the post post response. So using schedule for task scheduling, another thing. So if you are defining a component and you put schedule fixed rate 5000, so I guess it's a milliseconds. So every 5000 milliseconds, this will run. And this is only the basic. You can do more on these things, but one thing you need to remember in this case, enable scheduling should be there. You can use that here. I'm not sure whether we can use here, but we can use enable scheduling here. So in that case, it will allow scheduled things here. Consuming a REST API with the REST template. So if you need to consume another API, you can use the REST template. So there are multiple ways of doing that. So REST template, Spring Boot itself providing that REST template, so you don't need to worry about anything. But we have some other REST clients also. So in some other videos, probably we will discuss that. So in this case, just to define the REST template, new REST template, and you can call get for object, and it will return whatever. If you need the string class, you can map into the string class that consume API. So that's consuming REST API. Basic Spring security setup. So enable web security. That's the one thing. It will make all the requests into that API authorized. And if you have some exception, that you can mention here also. But you need to mention these two things, configuration and enable web security, then your API will be secure. So that's all about this thing. So probably uh, probably next video we will go through each of these things. Stay tuned for my next video. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.